Raw food does an awful lot more than cooked vegan food. Cooked vegan food takes away the bad stuff, but what does it give you? Doesn't give you the enzymes, doesn't give you the hormones, doesn't give you the phytochemicals, doesn't give you all of the things that actually radically shift fats in the body. You need the rotor-rooter. You need the garbage to be taken out. It's not just what you take away, it's what you put in. High uric acid reduces 100% of the time. Where does uric acid come from? Animal foods. That should be a surprise. You get rid of animal foods, guess what? Uric acid goes away. What does uric acid cause? Everything from rheumatoid problems to kidney disorders to acid reflux. And all it is you're eating the wrong thing that you should never have eaten to begin with. Because at school they taught you to do this. Your mother taught you to do this. The government taught you to do this. Nutritionists taught you to do this. Dietitians teach you to do this. Everyone is wrong. You say, could that be true? Yeah. They've been wrong about a lot of things along the way, you know? Plant-centric consumers dramatically reduce chances of enduring cancer, heart disease, diabetes, etc. Organic raw vegan food consumers dramatically heightens the potential of this result. So I'm taking you to the place we all have to go. I'm not here to tell you, only become a vegan. I'm telling you to become a vegan who eats nutrition. Because if you cook the food, you're not getting nutrition. Now, anyone who doesn't know that, let me explain it to you. Because I'm going to go in a couple of slides that will show it to you. Now, this is a scary thing. Although we're killing ourselves, we actually do more harm to the earth. Isn't that pretty scary when you think about it? Just look at some of the things that are going in circles there. Animal agriculture is responsible for 18% of greenhouse gas emission, more than the combined exhaust from all transportation. Governments won't tell the truth. You know who has to do these studies? The United Nations. Because they realize that your government is soft-pedaling and promoting corporate greed and perception. So UN came in and said, by the way, if you take every plane, every truck, every car that uses fossil fuel, consuming animals produce more greenhouse gases. Livestock and their byproducts account for 51% of all worldwide greenhouse emission. Now, how do livestock do it? Do you know? Yes, they do pass gas like you do, but they admit it. I've never known a human who doesn't pass gas, but none of you admit it. That wasn't me. Who the hell was it? There's only two of us here, and it wasn't me. It was you. But how about they don't kill these animals on Long Island? Do you know how much a piece of land here in Long Island costs? How many of you live in Long Island? Raise your hand. You don't want to be a farmer, a rancher in Long Island. You'd have to be a very, very rich rancher. You'd have to be like JR or something at that point. And one of those big pickup trucks that costs $100,000. Yeah. So they grow this stuff in South America with poor ranchers. So now they have to send down jets and fill the jets up with the flesh of these animals so you can fly them back here and put all the fumes in the atmosphere and all that type of stuff. But you never think about that because you're getting cheap hamburgers at the fast food joint. When I was a kid, they were really cheap. You think this stuff is cheap now, like $1 meal? That's a joke. I used to get 20 hamburgers for $1. That's not a joke. Hamburgers when I was a boy here in the New York City area from White Castle were 5 cents each. How many of you are old enough to remember that? And I took advantage of that. Animal food cultivation produces the most vile greenhouse gases. Nitrous oxide, listen to this, almost 300 times more dangerous than carbon, and it lasts in the atmosphere for 150 years. So we all say, oh, I have a Prius. Great for you. But are you still eating hamburgers? Still eating chicken? Still eating fish? Oh, you mean even fish? You mean he's going to talk about fish? Yes, even fish. Harmful emissions are expected to increase by 80% by the middle of this century. What did I just say to you? It's bad now, isn't it? 80% from now. Earth's ecosystem is unraveling, producing septic conditions that amplify and increase human disease. So why does that man have a 4-year-old child with cancer? And why is the number one killer of our babies below 5 brain cancer? Brain cancer. Because of what I'm now talking about. Because you are off track. You're consuming things you should never put in your body. And just because people you know and your families did it, doesn't make it right. Remember, slavery was at one point accepted. How many of you accept slavery now? But guess what? We have more slaves on the planet Earth today than we've ever had in the history of humanity. Because once we change the channel and we don't keep our eye on the ball, it happens. There's more slaves on the planet Earth today, as I speak, than there was in the 18th and 19th century. How many of you know that? Never keep your eye off the ball. 80% of grains are grown to feed animals. And then we consume the animals. So we have hunger, we have starvation. You have 700,000 children to 750,000 children in the United States of America. For those of you listening around the world, we're the richest country in the world and probably the greediest. Because we have 750,000 children going to bed hungry in this country of the United States every night. Why? Because 80% of the grains globally, not just the United States, in France, Germany, everywhere in the world, is fed to animals. And every one of those pounds of grains I can produce through germination, 10 pounds of medicine and food. The strongest medicine ever discovered in the history of humanity is in sprouts. Sprouts challenge what I say. Bring these doctors up here. Try to get them to challenge what I say. And guess what? Sprout medicine costs nothing. That's why you don't hear about it. That's why I yell about it. We've been using sprout medicine since 1956. All organic seeds can be germinated containing the highest digestible protein. What did I just tell you? You want protein? Sprouts. Vitamins? Sprouts. Essential fatty acids? Sprouts. Minerals? Sprouts. Hormones, oxygen, phytochemicals, and enzymes? Sprouts. You cook them? Kaput. Worldwide starvation would be ended within 3 years. This I know for a fact. I sat with a statistician. 3 years. If we could convert the food, the millions of dollars of seed discarded to keep artificially low prices. So every single year in the United States, every single day, we discard hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds of seeds. So we keep artificially low grain prices. How many of you knew that? But every developed country in the world that has an economy does the same thing. And I'm telling you, if you just give me what we throw away, just what we throw away, I'm not asking for another thing, and give me 3 years, we'll wipe out world starvation. And by the way, create the strongest medicine ever discovered in the history of man called a phytochemical, a phytonutrient. So am I just talking about you feeling a little better? This is a lot bigger than you, man. You making the right choice is a right choice for everything. It's God's choice. It's universal choice. It's the right choice. And until you're ready to take responsibility and do the right thing, you're part of the problem. How about cooking? Let's talk about it. I touched on this earlier. Cooking destroys nutrients and life-giving elements. This increases the need to consume more food, creating a domino effect of greater food consumption. As Anna Maria said today, year after year, decade after decade, we asked the groups at Hippocrates, by the way, these are not health-minded people, many of them, they're sick. Sure, a lot of you do come because you're smart enough to come to take holidays and stay young. But a lot of people we work with are sick. They've been eating McDonald's. They've been eating garbage food. And we never ask a group after 4 days they're there, are you hungry? And one person has said yes. Because if you eat food that has nourishment in it, substance in it, everything that I've just mentioned, plus things we have yet to discover in it, you're satiated. But when you cook the vegan food, how many fat vegans do you know? I know plenty. I know plenty. And they're usually making fruit smoothies. Fact. These are 3 things we know absolutely happen when you cook a food. These are not opinions. And anything I tell you is scientifically validated to a point, it's unquestionable. Unquestionable. We've known for about 80 years that if you cook a food, something called leukocytosis happens. It's created when heating foods, including plants, at a high temperature. This weakens the overall immune system. So when you put a cooked organic plant that you've heated to a high temperature in your body, the immune system attacks it. The same way it would a cancer or a virus. Write it down, it's called leukocytosis. Nobody talks about that. Heating oils. When I was a little boy, they discovered. I was a little boy in the 1950s. They discovered literally that you heat oil, it causes cancer and heart disease. But you're being told by the latest health authority, oh, by the way, heat coconut oil, it's the best. Why? Because he likes Thai food. Let me tell you something. Coconut oil will give you the same heart disease and cancer, maybe greater amounts coconut oil will give you. Because it's a saturated fat. That's all it really is. Today, Brenda touched on this, and she was right. But she said it was in potatoes only. Wrong. Potatoes are one of the main culprits. Not the only culprit, though. Acrylamides, which my wife's country, about 3.5 decades discovered, and everyone poo-pooed it. Oh, the Swedes, the Swedes are only the Swedes. Well, Christ, they created a Kia, and Volvo, and H&M. Now, in my books I write for the scientists, for the doctors. I quote study after study from all over the world, including in your country. They're finally catching up with acrylamides. You cook any food, I don't care if it's an organic food, I don't care if it's a plant-based food, at a high temperature you get acrylamide, it causes cancer. Not maybe causes cancer, could cause cancer. It does cause cancer. So here I'm telling you there's 3 things we know cause heart disease or cancer just from cooking a food. Oh, well, that's not what Dr. Schmuck said from the University of Stupido. Yes, well, maybe look at his credentials. Dr. Schmuck, Ph. Schmuck. Moderation. This is something I just learned when I was putting this together. I was stunned. I didn't know why people's limbs were falling off when they had diabetes had part to do with leukocytosis. Brand new science to me. Shocked. So, when they get diabetic conditions and the blood doesn't flow and then their toes get black and they get gangrene, and then before you know it, the doctor says, well, I got to exhume it. Well, I guess just part of the thing. It's genetic.